Welcome to Inside Politics with Kevin Klein, beyond the headlines, beyond the spin. Straight facts, sharp analysis, and common sense conversation you won't hear anywhere else. Let's get started.
I'm Kevin Klein. Welcome to another edition of Inside Politics. I am joined by two of my Winnipeg Sun colleagues. We have Royce Koop and Lawrence Pinsky. Today, gentlemen, I want to talk about Mark Carney a little bit more, but more importantly about his caucus retreat that just happened in Quebec City. It happened right after the whole economic forum debacle and speech, and the Trump, coming back at Carney a little bit harsh. But now Carney's using that. It's almost like he's using that. He was hoping for that kind of a response to start being Captain Canada, as you have said a couple of times, Royce. And that to me seems like it's stepping back onto that election soapbox that was Captain Canada.
Yep. Trump's response to his Davos speech was this little shot saying that the only reason that Canada exists is because of the United States. We exist at the pleasure of the Americans. Carney did not miss the opportunity to respond to that. Now, he didn't do so very effectively. I think the quote was, Canada doesn't exist because of the U.S. We thrive. Canada thrives because we're Canadians, which is... What is that? Who knows? I don't know what that means.
And I don't see it on a T-shirt.
Exactly. That's, I think, what this caucus retreat was really all about. It was this continuation of a nationalist, rah-rah Canada approach the Prime Minister's taken. And I think it's just as likely that they're not designing a legislative program for the next Parliament. They're designing an election platform right now in that retreat. The Liberals have every intention or have every incentive to go into an election in the very near future, and I think that's what we're going to see.
Lawrence, what are your thoughts on that?
Help. I think Canada's in deep trouble. I think you're right, Royce, that what they're doing at the Citadel in Quebec is working on the election platform and what has to occur. That's where their focus is. Mr. Trump and Mr. Lutnick were both pretty clear about how they feel about what Mr. Carney said there. This whole elbows up thing. I don't understand how Canadians don't see that the emperor has no clothes. What elbows? What up? You can't undermine the Ontario auto sector, create no pipelines, and make no mistake, there are no pipelines. You can't negate, this Team Canada concept. You can't create an economic structure of high regulation, no development, but it's okay if you're a special company, we'll waive the rules for you. None of that works. It's never worked in any economy anywhere. Maybe he might say, Mr. Carney might say in response, wait a minute, that's what works in China. But what's the flip side of what happens in China? The taking away of the rights of the people there, the quashing of individual liberties, a spy state. That's not Canada, and it's not my Canada. It's not our Canada, and it ought not to be Canada. It doesn't veer that far off Mr. Carney's values book or parts of it, so that's scary. That's why I began the answer with help.
Yeah.
Because it's very concerning.
Yeah, it's concerning, and especially if you look at some of the legislation that they've put forward, right? That parts of the Bible can be considered hate speech, and bringing in harsher penalties through the justice system just without the mandatory, or mandatory minimum sentences without the mandatory. And being involved in a party, I can tell you, the caucus retreats, they do talk about the upcoming session and such, which they're probably getting ready for. But I would venture to agree with you, Lawrence, and with Royce that this is an election prep. That they're part of that discussion, and a lot of that discussion might have been about, like, you got to get some volunteers ready, you got to line up your donors. We're going to go, just before or just after the NDP pick their leader. We're not going to give them time to get ready, because if we know that they won or got their minority government because the NDP collapsed, they know that. And they're not going to want to sit back and let the NDP gain steam going into the next election. And if Kuzma does fall apart and Carney's in a minority government, he'll be remembered as that minority prime minister that destroyed the trade agreement with the United States. History, I think history will remember it differently than we do right now, Royce.
Yeah, absolutely. The legislative achievements of the Mark Carney government were nil in the last parliamentary session. It was one of the least productive parliamentary sessions in Canadian history, and the bills that were being debated were pretty ridiculous. They were incoherent. They didn't match up what the prime minister promised in the last election campaign. This is a government that's focused on politics. It's focused on a majority government. It was focused on luring floor crossers. It's focused on when the next early election is going to arrive rather than keeping its promises that it made in the last election campaign. I think that if a politician wants a majority government, he should earn it. If Canadians give you a minority government, then show us what you're made of, show us what you can do, and then maybe you get a majority government. That's not the route that the Liberals are taking right now. I think it's really frustrating is that an awful lot of what we're seeing that is bad for Canada right now is a result of Mark Carney's failure to secure tariff relief, to secure a deal with the Americans like he said he would. If he had been able to do that, I don't think there would have been this trip to China. I don't think there would have been this speech in Davos that was designed to poke a stick at Trump. I think there would be a lot of kind of, hey, look at me. I got the deal. I got tariff relief. But instead, because now...
And he'd be golden. He would be golden.
But now that we're going down this different garden path where he couldn't get a deal, now there's a lot of things happening that are going to play to the electoral advantage of the Liberal Party, but they won't help Canada. And so I think that's what's really bothering me about this path that we seem to be on as we head towards an early election. It's not about Canada. It's not about Canadians. It's about the Liberal Party. And it's really too bad to see that.
And Lawrence, do you see that with the appearance of Justin Trudeau and Katy Perry at the World Economic Forum? I mean, there was lots online about that, but
why are they there?
I don't know.
It's like a celebrity thing now.
Well, but that's what it is in large part.
Yeah,
a lot of celebrities, a lot of networking. That's what that is. But you're right, Royce. What Mr. Carney's focused on is party survival instead of national survival, and that's really, really, really bad because one seems to be coming at the expense of the other. That is, national survival is coming at the expense of Liberal Party survival. He's putting in place he's talking. I can't say he's putting in place. He's talking about policies that will really stifle national survival. We're in a big fight with Mr. Trump. We shouldn't have been, but we are, and his administration, and he's doing nothing to really make sure that we come out of that unscathed. So that's what I see. I see I keep saying it, a major problem with him. There are no elbows up. It's I hate to use the term fake news. Yeah. It's a falsehood.
It's marketing.
It's marketing devoid of substance, and we're all paying for it. And I would disagree with you, Royce. It's not just the last year; it's the last 5 years. It's since 2000 it's since 2020. If we want to put it on Mr. Carney, when he became Mr. Trudeau's unpaid advisor on finances and the economy, it's been an utter disaster.
Yeah,
consistent with his book. But utter disaster. And but we've said this before, the Conservatives have to put a positive face on it, because what sells in the Midwest United States, the Rust Belt, etc., will not sell in Ontario, will not sell in Quebec.
Yeah.
So we have to be able to market it here.
I want to talk a little bit about, I agree with you that the Liberal Party is looking out for the Liberal Party. And I've said this before as somebody who's been in politics and been in party. It's about the power. It's about the power, but I don't want to say this to seem like I'm attacking somebody, but I get the sense that Carney wants to be king. I know everyone says that about Donald Trump, and I'll go back to what I said before. They seem to have some very similar ambitions in life, because everything. I mean, look at all the travel that Carney has done. Look at the places where he's gone to say that he's trying to do trade, like Qatar. a terrible human rights record, right? And here they are rolling out the red carpet for Carney. And if you look at his Facebook page, he's loving it. Like he's obviously got his own photographer. That happens for all politicians. It's not a big deal. But I mean, I think he's playing a different role. I don't think he is playing, I want to be Canada's best prime minister. He's got something else in mind. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, and let me just speak directly to Katy Perry, who I'm sure watches our podcast. Like, Katy, come on, you can do so much better. Like, let's straighten this out. Does Carney want to be king? Absolutely. We know, I think, from the moment that he got a minority government, that he had every intention to convert that somehow into a majority government, whether it was luring floor crossers, whether or not it was having a snap election. That's unnecessary to get that majority government. By hook or by crook, he's going to try to get it. Now, this government had a pretty big legislative program that came out of the last election campaign. There was a lot to do. There was a lot that he said he was going to do, and there was a lot to get done. Nothing has happened. The MOU with Alberta is really the biggest thing, and it's an MOU. It's a piece of paper. It's an agreement. Nothing is happening. So
he doesn't want it to happen. Royce, yeah, he doesn't want it to happen.
But if that's the centerpiece, that's all that is. I mean, the government could, in this kind of nationalist fervor, he could win a majority government in 4 years if we see the same kind of deficit spending, if we see that we've seen over the last 10 years, if we see the sort of what we've seen over the last 9 months with him. Canada is going to be in very, very rough shape.
But is there going to be a Canada in 4 years, Royce? Because let's talk about this for a second. You got Alberta that is getting pretty hyped up on this whole separatist motion. And now you've got officials in the United States saying Alberta would make a wonderful partner. They would get along fantastically or famously. You've got the separatist movement in Quebec really picking up more steam than I've seen it had in my lifetime, that's for sure. So there's quite possibly in the next 4 years, 2 provinces that are going to cut themselves from Canada. So when that happens, what are we talking about? Like, how are you going to survive without the money and the minerals coming from Alberta? And Saskatchewan would surely go along with them. So now you lose both those provinces. I mean, how do you have a Canada to support? And Carney's not talking about it at all. His Captain Canada stuff doesn't fly in Quebec. It doesn't fly in Alberta right now. It doesn't fly there.
In fact, the PQ leader really criticized him for his revisionist view of Canadian history, Mr. Carney's view of Canadian history that was wrong, polished, and silly. I think you're right. That's why I said that Mr. Carney, I think, is the most dangerous, destructive Canadian prime minister that certainly in the modern era. And it's kind of funny. There's one of Mr. Trump's lawyers. His name is Rob Garson. Mr. Trump has no shortage of lawyers, as you know. But this fella, who's reasonably close, it seems, with the administration, has advocated for a policy with the administration for people who want to essentially seek refuge from the United Kingdom in the United States, that they should be granted visas. I don't think it's far behind that something's going to happen for Canadians, and I don't know that Canada can survive 4 more years of Mr. Carney's dark dystopic vision for Canada, as revealed in his book Values. Central control, no economic development, deprivation. I don't think Alberta should stick around for it. I don't think would stick around for it. I don't think Saskatchewan will. As for Quebec, like at a minimum, Saskatchewan and Alberta will insist on a rejigging of transfer payments that are huge. And without those transfer payments, I don't know what happens to the Maritimes. I don't know what happens to Manitoba. And they're big problems out there.
Let me throw this out at you guys, and I'm not a conspiracy guy, but doesn't it seem like the fact that our national leader is ignoring what's happening in Alberta? He's not talking about it at all. It's like, they're being Alberta, and what's going on in Quebec? Yeah. It's just that's just Quebec. They've done it before. Everyone says, oh, it's all talk. It's never going to happen. We're very close to it happening. And now, if it does happen, well, maybe all of Canada gets looped into the United States after that, because we wouldn't have a Canada, right? Manitoba can't make it on their own. Ontario would have a tough time making it on their own. So maybe conspiracy, but maybe this is a plan.
Well, I mean, Mark Carney, I don't think he understands Alberta or Quebec. I don't think he understands Canada. He spent most of his life outside of Canada. He was parachuted in as a kind of celebrity candidate. The reality is that Alberta, I always kind of feel that separation will not happen in Alberta. The Albertans I know are patriotic.
Like home to me. I can tell you, I disagree.
The thing is, you go into an actual referendum. You're in a campaign. You start to actually have to look at the options. What are we getting out of Confederation? We pay into equalization. What do we get? Have we gotten a pipeline? What are the trade-offs here? And part of me feels like when you're actually doing that exercise, when you're actually kind of doing the trade-offs, a lot more Albertans are actually just like, well, wait a second, maybe this is an option. Maybe there's a better route for us. The biggest thing for me is that we will certainly have 2 referendums in very quick succession. It's coming in Alberta, unless the government quashes it. And I don't think they will or they should. Like, that's the legislation. And it's coming in Quebec. This is going to be a very difficult time in Canadian history. It'll be the most difficult and perhaps the most disintegrating time in the country's history in decades and decades. Is Mark Carney the person to lead the country in that situation? Is he the one to lead the Federalist forces in Quebec and in Alberta? Someone who I don't think really understands either of those places or the country as a whole. I would have some pretty big concerns about that.
Now, the last vote in Quebec was very close, right? As I recall, right? I mean, very close. Yeah.
Half
so
a percentage point.
That was a long time ago, and a lot more has happened since. So, Lawrence, if you're a betting man, if you're Albertan, first of all, Alberta is like home to me. So, and my kids are there and stuff. I look at it when the people I talk to that I know from Alberta, when we have conversations about it, is almost exactly what Royce said. Like we've given to the country, but we never get anything back. And they all know that the pipeline's not real. They're not fooled by this prime minister. They're not fooled by any of it. And then they're hearing, they're getting beat up by BC because BC's saying we're not going to take let container ships or tankers go up and down the coast. Why would you stay?
Well, it's a really good question. When you said, or you asked the question, like, why isn't Carney doing anything about Alberta separatism? Well, what he tried to do was the MOU, which both said something and said nothing. And Danielle Smith has now said you have till September, I think she said. So that's all going to come to a head. There will not be a pipeline. That's not going to happen. Much more likely to have a federal election. The interesting thing is, with all these separatist movements, the one person who's perfectly situated, who speaks French fluently, who talks about individual rights, who understands Alberta, is Pierre Poilievre. Yeah. And he's the one guy who could run a campaign not called, his last campaign sort of was tone deaf, but if he ran a campaign that was Canada United, I think that there's legs on that he's the guy that can keep Canada together. As for Albertans, when they ask themselves, what do we get out of Confederation? There's an inertia to say, I want to stay Canadian. Yeah. Personally, I think it's true for all of us. I love Canada. Yeah. What's horribly frightening and just soul crushing is what the recent liberals have done to our country and are still doing. And that's the sad part. So I think that there's an avenue for Pierre here, and I hope he takes it. As for what Mr. Carney can do, his big plan was the MOU. There won't be anything else. There can't be when you look at the opposition. Even his last little dance with I don't want to say a fake group of Indigenous people, but a manufactured group of Indigenous people out in BC that he met with, who said no pipeline, which aren't really bands. They aren't recognized. They aren't leaders.
They're an activist group.
Right. They're a lobby group funded in the United States by leftists in the US. And that's who he met with and said, no pipeline. So you can't square that circle. And when Albertans have to sit and think about that, and people in Saskatchewan, they're going to say, what's going on? Why are we staying here? Maybe we're the real Canada, and maybe what Carney's done is something else, not
Rupert's
Canada.
land. Rupert's land.
Well, not even. It's something else.
I think the Conservatives would do well coming out with a campaign that says "Stronger Together." I really do.
Something like that.
Start talking about that. Start talking about how we're stronger together. We're stronger together as Canadians. We're stronger together as provinces. And I'm probably going to get beat up for this, but we're stronger together with the United States. And that's a reality. We are stronger together with the United States.
Stronger together in North America is how I would put that. And you won't get beat up on this podcast, but out there on the street, maybe there's a problem.
Out there on the street.
And as Pierre said in his speech, like Trump, how much time does he have left? Like 2.5 years?
Yeah.
And he's term limited. He'll be gone.
It could be 1 year, right? He could lose the House, right?
Oh, yeah. And then even that. And so that even his power is curtailed. The idea that we would just torch our relationship with the United States because of one president, it's just nuts. And that is going to factor into the Alberta referendum campaign. And there's another variable, and that is that if we get an early election, and a Liberal majority government based on seats, and they're not winning seats in Alberta, and this government that is being anti-resource development, leave it in the ground, opposed to the interests of Alberta over time, that will factor into an Alberta referendum campaign. I promise you that.
Yeah, I think it will in Quebec too.
I do want to say one thing that, it's true that Mr. Trump only has a few years left, but J.D. Vance is even more concerning for those people who are concerned by Mr. Trump. And I'm not saying you ought to be, though I don't love, I think it's problematic how he negotiates. The policies underneath it are actually often very sound, but how he does it, how he presents it is often problematic. But J.D. Vance will be even more frightening for those people who are frightened by Mr. Trump. Unlike Marco Rubio.
It's a topic for a different show, but I think Marco Rubio will be in there before J.D. Vance.
I hope so. I like Marco.
Yeah.
Sound guy.
Royce, what do you think? I mean, it's off topic, but...
I mean, I actually am not sure I agree with Lawrence. J.D. Vance, yeah, he's a true believer in tariffs. He wants to bring back American manufacturing, but in terms of the negotiation, Trump is just a kind of drunk uncle when it comes to negotiating. At least Vance, I think, would be a little bit more coherent, a little bit more predictable. So I don't know. It might be worse. I think in some ways it might turn out to be better with Vance, certainly with Rubio.
You got to watch the biopic on Donald Trump, Royce. Just watch it, and you'll sit there, and it will all come to you as going, I get it now.
Is it on Netflix?
What's that?
Read the book. The book is exactly spot on.
Yeah.
And if you have any sort of strategic thinking in your head, it's a map how to deal with him.
It's a game. It's a game to him.
Yeah. It's Roy Cohn. Roy Cohn was a lawyer, very difficult guy. He actually was counsel for Richard Nixon when he was on the McCarthy Commission back in the U.S. in Congress. Very difficult guy, very unusual fellow. I won't get into his picadillos, but very unusual guy, and tough as hell, tough as hell. And this is the Roy Cohn presidency, but it's in Mr. Trump's name.
And Trump is playing it like Cohn had taught him, is that you don't ask, you take. And you take and you just say you're taking. You just say you're taking. You say you're taking. And isn't that what he did with Greenland? He just kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. And now he's backing off a little bit because they're going to talk to him.
I once had a file with a lawyer from Toronto who privately said to me, this was remarkable, Lawrence, I want you to know that you'll either pay me what I'm asking or I'm going to scorch the earth. I'm just going to go nuts. I'm going to do all this stuff. And the beauty for me was we have judges, because that does not play in Manitoba. In fact, ultimately, the court ordered him personally to pay $10,000 to my client of costs because he was so reckless and disregarded the rules and other things. So he personally had to pay. With dealing with Mr. Trump, there's no judge who's going to come in and say, Mr. Trump, naughty, pay $10,000 fine or $10 million or $10 billion. You have to know how to deal with him from the start. And, that's what has to happen. Unfortunately, Team Canada has no one who knows how to do it other than Danielle Smith knew and Mr. Moe knew, but they were sort of ridiculed when they tried to do it a different way.
Yeah. Yeah.
All serious.
Good discussion, gentlemen. Thank you very much. I look forward to talking to you next week and talking about the convention because it is happening next weekend in Calgary.
Thursday night. The Pierre vote is Friday. The Pierre vote is Friday.
It's Friday. Okay, perfect. All right. Well, listen, fun discussion. Thank you very much for that. A couple of interesting thoughts. I think that we can go back and watch this and see if they come to fruition. Hopefully they don't, but they might. Anyways, thank you very much for watching our podcast. Please hit the like button and make sure you follow us and share it with your friends.
Thanks for watching Inside Politics with Kevin Klein. Please like and subscribe to this channel and visit thewinnipegssun.com for more.